welcome back to Shakesyear. We are in day 2 of Henry VI Part 3. Lots of numbers being thrown at you, and we get to hear from Richard in Act 1, Scene 2. So yesterday, really quick recap of Act 1, Scene 1. It picks up right where Henry VI Part 2 left off, but they're back in London, and the Yorkists made it there first, and they killed everybody, including the youngest, or the third son, Richard, killed Somerset and comes in with his head. He's like, see what I did? And they're like, you win. And then the king eventually comes back in, and there's lots of squabble of, you should bow to me, no, you should bow to me, until finally, to end all of the fighting, King Henry promises to give his crown to Richard Plantagenet, the Duke of York, once he dies, and then the crown can stay with Richard's family, and that's his solution to the whole War of the Roses thing, is that he will continue to be king until he dies, and then it'll become Richard, Duke of York, and then his family from there on out. So Henry and the Duke of York, Richard, shake hands on that, agree to it, go their separate ways. York and his dudes leave. Henry is still there, and his wife comes in and is like, how dare you disinherit our son like that? And yesterday's monologue, she ripped him a new one and then divorced him and then declared war on him for having disinherited their son, Edward. So she goes off to muster a war, or muster an army, so that she can overthrow the king, her husband, and or ex-husband, because I'm not sure if just saying I divorce you was an effective means of divorce back then. But anyway, I'll check on that. So today, in Act 1, Scene 2, we get the Duke of York and his two sons, Edward and Richard, Edward being older than Richard, talking about essentially what just happened. And Edward and young Richard are like, why don't you just go kill the king? Because then you'll be king. And Richard, Duke of York, is like, no, I promised that I wouldn't. I swore an oath that he would live out the rest of his days peacefully as king. No threats from me, no threats from any of my people. He gets to live out the rest of his days, and then I become king, and I swore that oath. And they're like, yeah, just break it. And he's like, no, I took an oath. And young Richard, the third son of the Duke of York, says, an oath is of no moment, being not took before a true and lawful magistrate, that hath authority over him that swears. Henry had none, but did usurp the place. Then, seeing 'twas he that made you to depose, your oath, my lord, is vain and frivolous. Therefore, to arms. And father, do but think how sweet a thing it is to wear a crown, within whose circuit is Elysium, and all that poets feign of bliss and joy. Why do we linger thus? I cannot rest until the white rose that I wear be dyed even in the lukewarm blood of Henry's heart. So yeah, this is, we're gonna get to know Richard really well throughout this play, but this is some of the early hints, I mean, beyond him coming in with Somerset's head at the very start of the play. These are some of the hints of how cunning and smart and perhaps even manipulative he can be. But anyway, he makes a good argument. He questions the validity of the oath because it wasn't necessarily like signed, sealed, certified, notarized, all that kind of stuff. So he says, you don't have to keep it. So let's go fight a war. And tomorrow we get to hear the Duke of York's response. So I'll see you then for that. Mwah.